Jeff Jones, co-host of Community Voice PHL Talk Show. I'm over here at the Ideal Center having the opportunity to interview 4 amazing creatives. I get a chance to talk to Mason Ricker, Annise Austin, Jordan McKinnon, and Ozzie Jones. All 4 of these interviews are speaking to individuals who are doing amazing and impactful creative work in the arts over here in Camden, New Jersey. So as you listen to these interviews, check out their stories and realize the inspiring work that they're doing and find ways to support the arts as well. Enjoy. Well, this is Jeff Jones from Community Voice PHL Talk Show. I'm over here at the Ideal Center in Camden, New Jersey, and I have the awesome opportunity to interview a great and amazing creative from Rutgers University, Camden campus. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over right now to my guest for this interview, Mason Ricker. How you doing, Mason?
I'm pretty good. Good day, good summer.
Good summer, that's for sure, that's for sure. So what brings you to the Ideal Center?
I came to IDEA to, really I wanted to sort of refine the skills that I had. In high school, I was used to working in video production, and coming back here, I sort of reconnected with that because I hadn't done it in a while. And so, it added a bit of color to the summer, which, ordinarily wouldn't necessarily have had me doing anything actually productive. Coming to IDEA like every week is, it gave me something to really focus on, and I feel like I've accomplished some personal goals, and I've accomplished, I've just generally in terms of, refining my skills and even just making videos that are personally satisfying for me.
What are 2 things about the Ideal Center? If someone was to say, hey, I want to be part of the Ideal Center, what are 2 or 3 things I should say that you would say are great about the Ideal Center and why they should join and take part?
Well, I definitely think that IDEA gives you an opportunity to explore some new skills if you aren't familiar with the sort of digital or the media production, or even if you just want to look for a community center where people, you can meet new people who are experienced, or you can meet people who are trying to get into the same things that you're trying to get into. I think that there's definitely a sense of community here that's valuable, and that there's also a pretty gentle learning environment for whether you're trying to get into music or into video production or even just graphic design. There's definitely a pretty good environment for that here if you're interested in any of that.
So a senior at Rutgers campus in Camden. Where you go from here? I know you got the creative space that you're working in at the Ideal Center. You've done some amazing things already. So where do you see yourself after you've completed your studies at Rutgers?
That's a good question, because right now I'm majoring in digital studies and English, right? So I'm not necessarily sure what exactly I'm going to do after college. I'm still iffy on whether or not I'm going to go for another year and get my master's degree, but after that, I just know that I'm going to be going into employment. Not necessarily what I'll be doing or how I'll be doing it, but I definitely feel like I had the experience to take away after Rutgers, and especially after IDEA, in order to actually be employable.
Well, you might be able to even start your own business and some of the skills that I've heard you learn. Now, I heard also that there's something special about you that's been discovered. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I did recently. I made a skit that was apparently, according to other people, pretty funny. I think it's okay. But I feel like if I'm laughing too much at my own jokes, it's probably a bad thing. Because
could be just that funny too, right?
Yeah. So.
What's the skit called, by the way?
It's called Awkward. The skit. It's it stars myself, and the entire point of it is that it's supposed to convey this feeling of discomfort between people, right?
Gotcha.
And particularly because the character I play is kind of a loner, and he's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So that's.
But hey, you don't seem to be weird or awkward at all. You seem like you're creative in a lot of spaces and got a bright future ahead. So thanks for taking time out for this brief interview for the Community Voice at the Ideal Center. Appreciate you, Mason Rickard from Camden University.
Yeah.
And Rutgers University in Camden, so appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Jeff Jones from Community Voice PHL over here on the other side of the bridge at the Ideal Center in Camden, New Jersey. I'm here with the great opportunity to interview another awesome and amazing creative, and we're going to be talking about how the Ideal Center helps and impacts the creative nature of the youth and the adults in the Camden area. So I'm going to talk to Annise Austin from Rowan County Community College in Burlington. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I mean, it's a mouthful.
Yes.
So how's it going today?
It's going good. It's going good. How's it going with you?
Everything's going well. Everything's going well. So what brought you to the Ideal Center?
So I had the opportunity to have an internship to do marketing and to kind of like express like my marketing side and like see where that can go and everything.
Okay. So coming to the Ideal Center, what would be one or two things that you could share with anyone? Say, hey, I want to take part in the Ideal Center. What is it about? How are you there, Annalise? So what would you share with them about that?
I would share it's definitely like an opportunity to get in tune with like any type of creative side that you have. If you have an interest of something, it'll definitely bring it right out of you. Like whether that might be with art or like digital or acting or stuff like that. Like it'll definitely bring that side out of you. Or music.
So now I also know that you are heavy into fashion, so that's your thing. So in terms of fashion, how's the Ideal Center helping you enhance your skills in getting into the fashion industry?
I think that the Ideal Center has definitely granted me with some opportunities to make like more connections. So I feel like as far as that goes, that kind of takes me further with fashion. We have events here where there'll be like pop-up centers and stuff
cool.
like that. So yeah, stuff like that.
Cool. Now, Rowan County Community College in Burlington. What year are you in? What's your career path with that?
So I'm in my third year. I'm looking to transfer next year. And my major is marketing, and I'm kind of like interested in like the business world, potentially either owning my own business or doing marketing for a business, or like social media marketing, stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure like what I want to do with that, but I definitely am into like the business world and stuff like
So
that.
you're gonna be a business mogul and take over the fashion industry and all that.
Yes.
So do we need your autograph now? Is that what it is? So
Yes, I'll write it down.
Get your autograph now. That's what's up. So going back to the Ideal Center, I see that this is a place again. I'm just floored and amazed by all the, not just the equipment, but the energy and the environment here. How do you see yourself as an intern, lending some support in that space? Because I'm sure people come up to you and ask for help. And how's your work as an intern helping to enhance creativity?
I think that there's like classes here where you could tune in. And last week there was a class like for like it was guys from the studio that came in. And they were talking about like movie production and video production, so I think that it definitely like enhances like our creativity with that and stuff like that. And then like just having like an impact on the kids, like there's like a giant impact. Like they come here and they come here to learn and stuff like that, and like express their artistic side. So it's like it's nice seeing like the impact on the kids.
That's what's up. So you come from an artistic family yourself, right?
Yes, definitely.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, my cousin, he's a rapper, and he does everything that he does. He does a bunch of stuff, and even like my mom, like she's really into like expressing herself with like dancing, and like my whole family's into like music and stuff like that.
That's what's up. So
yeah.
seems like the ideal place for you to be at the Ideal Center to continue to help out the youth in the community,
Sure.
enhance your own creativity. So thanks again for taking part in this brief interview, and I appreciate your time. So thank you, Annalise Austin. And this is Jeff Jones from Community Voice PHL, once again in the Ideal Center, talking to one of the amazing creative youth over here in Camden, New Jersey. Had the pleasure to meet and talk with a senior from Camden County Technical High School, Jordan McKinnon. Jordan McKinnon, thanks for taking time for this brief interview at the Ideal Center. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good.
Good. Camden County Technical High School. Tell me a little bit about your experience there. What do you do there at the school?
Okay. So I've been studying graphic design at my high school for the past 3 years. So like our school has majors where about half of the day we work on our major, and then the other half we do like academic math.
Yeah, do fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're a senior, right? Going to your senior year?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the exciting part about stepping into your senior year at Camden County Tech?
I'm actually excited because instead of finishing my last year at my high school, they have an opportunity for seniors to do college classes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm most excited for.
Cool. So you're doing college classes now. See, I wish I had that opportunity to do college classes in my senior year. I probably would have graduated on time. But with the college classes that you're taking, what brings you now to the Ideal Center? Because you're doing some amazing work here. So what brings you here?
Thank you. My mom is friends with Miss Cynthia, so I learned about the program through that. And I've actually been taking graphic design here as well. We've been learning Photoshop.
Cool, cool. So graphic design artist, so you're going to be one of those great animators that we see creating cartoons in the future?
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. I want to work in storyboard art.
Storyboard art. Now, that's when they create the stories and then they just actually put it together? Talk a little about what is a storyboard art?
So storyboards is basically like the rough animation before it goes and gets sent off. So like that's when a lot of the writing for the episodes or cartoon is done, and like planning out shots and stuff like that.
So that's the work before the work. So,
Yeah.
So you do all the good stuff before see on TV. So that's good. That's cool. So in animation, what's the most challenging part that you would think can help somebody overcome in terms of animation?
In animation, it's just a lot of tedious work because you are trying to make like still drawings move. So having each frame like work together to make a coherent movement, it's a lot of tedious.
Yeah, it sounds like you got to be real patient with that.
Yeah.
So then what's the fun part? I guess the fun part is the end product? Or?
Yeah, the fun part's the end product, but I do enjoy the drawing as well as, even though it's a lot of work. I think it's really cool, like seeing something that you've worked on become like a finished product.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine because from start to finish, it's like you say, tedious at first, but then at the end, you're like, this is cool stuff.
Yeah.
Good. So after you graduate from high school, what's going to be your next endeavor? You're going to stay connected to the Ideal Center? I'm sure they're going to love to have you here.
I would love to stay connected to the Ideal Center. But after college, I want to try to get like internships, and I really want to work at like Cartoon Network or Netflix.
Cartoon Network. You hear that, Cartoon Network? Hear that? You got the next great one here, Jordan McKinnon. She's coming for you. So Jordan, if you could tell any of the youth who wants to take part in the Ideal Center why they should take part in the Ideal Center, what would you share with them?
I feel like I've made like a lot of great connections. Like my teachers here have been really great, and I feel like I've learned a lot.
Anything specific that you've learned that you can take away with you when you do go off to college?
Yeah, I've learned a lot more about Photoshop. We worked a bit with it in my class, but since we learned Photoshop at the end of the school year, we didn't really get to like hone down on our skills. So taking this class was like a great refresher, and I learned like a lot with using Photoshop specifically for the iPad and stuff.
There you go. That's Jordan McKinney from Camden County Technical High School, the next great animator that's going to be out there. So y'all look out for those names as y'all watching those cartoons, because I know y'all watch them. And when you do, check out the name, Jordan McKinney. So thanks, Jordan,
Thank you.
for being on this episode. Hey, again, Jeff Jones, Community Voice PHL Talk Show over here at the Ideal Center, talking to some amazing and awesome creatives over here in Camden, New Jersey. I have the pleasure right now to have a brief interview with a man who definitely has his hands full and busy on every aspect, Ozzie Jones, instructor, director, and downright do-it-all guy for the Ideal Center. Ozzie, thanks for taking time for this brief interview.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, well, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, not me, but tell our viewers about yourself in terms of the work that you do, because I heard you like the chief cook and bottle wash. You kind of do it all.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, by profession, I'm a stage or film director. My career has been more predominantly stage, but like the biggest work that people would know that I've done has been stage.
Okay.
But I've done a lot of film work over the years, and teachers, like teaching is one of my favorite things to do, and musician. I've been making music for years. So.
I mean, just what don't you do?
Listen, man, look, I got a kid graduating from Catholic University in DC, and my daughter's going to have second year at NYU, so
Congrats.
I'm about to try to get another job as soon as I leave here.
Well, it seemed like if you did, you'd be the right person for it, because you got skills in every level, so I appreciate that. So, the Ideal Center, what brought you here? I know you're doing a lot of great work with Miss Cynthia, you've been doing it for quite some time, and the impact that you're having is awesome. So what brought you here? Because you could have gone anywhere else with the skills that you have.
Well, it's interesting. I've literally known Cynthia for, you know how like you know somebody, anything I think over 20 years, it gets vague in your mind where you know them from, like how you met them.
Yeah.
But I became the artistic director of the Walt Whitman Art Center when it was still an operating theater and art center. And I was that for like 7 years. And I think I started there the late 90s.
Oh.
And I want to say, and I've always been, it's important to me that I do community work. And it's also been very important to me that I do work in prisons.
Mm.
So I've always structured all my work professionally around being able to always do that.
Gotcha.
And I think when she first started IDEA, one of the things that they were doing was prison work.
Gotcha.
With kids. Like they were doing work with, and Dave I've known long, Dave Goodman I've known longer than I've known Cynthia. And I met him at Freedom Theater years ago.
Oh, over in Philly?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was like the first directing job I got out of school.
Okay.
And yeah, and I, you know, was I mean, I've worked here in I love Camden. Like, Camden's one of my favorite
But you're a West
places.
Philly guy.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Born and raised.
Yes, born and raised. A lot of time on the playground as well. But I love Camden. Like, love Camden as a city. Like, the city has always embraced me. It's always treated me really good. And it's interesting with Camden, I've been treated really good by the business, the school, and the street too. Like they've been good to me.
Yeah, and that's got to be important because when you're working with the youth over in Camden, they have to have that. You have to have that authenticity.
Oh, 100%.
And obviously you have that, you know, because at multiple levels, you say the business, the community, the youth, they all gravitate to you. So as a creative director of the Ideal Center, what are some of the things you're looking to impart into the youth as they come to you, not knowing some of the creative skills that they have, right? And you with your experience, what do you?
That's a fabulous question. I don't know, man. Like, and I tell my students this all the time. I'm a bit of a snob. So, you know, like the Ivy League education thing may have something to do with that, but I just am.
Yeah.
And one of the things that infuriates me is the way our children are educated. And particularly the way our children are educated in poor communities.
Wow. Yeah.
And they are allowed to get away with not reading the greatest literature in the world, without watching the greatest films in the world, without, like I also do the performing arts program for the middle school at the Shipley School in Bryn Mawr.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that.
And the difference
Yeah, it's major.
between, and a lot of times people talk about it like it's just money. But usually, what I'd say is different about what I do is usually people teach in either one of those situations, but rarely both. And the difference between the intensity that the Shipley population is educated. Now, I'm not even talking about the money, but like how hard they work to make sure that they know.
Yeah.
And how cool everybody is with our kids not knowing nothing.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I've worked with kids, I worked with some kids here this summer,
Yeah.
13, and don't understand how a comma works, or a semicolon works, and it's a disgrace before God.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, for me, it ain't even about the art, because one thing I think as Black people, our connection to being an artist is a connection that we have with God and the earth.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're gonna do that,
Yeah.
whether I or anyone else helps them do that or not, because it's who we are.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
innately in us.
It's innately in us.
Creative in that space, and I thoroughly get what you're saying. And as far as the educational piece, because we could talk ad nauseum about that, but I want to make sure we stay focused here, because sometimes you realize it's intentional, right?
It's 100%
It's
intentional.
intentional, right? But we also can make it restorative in a space that we can transform that in a lot. And you transform that through the arts, through the work that you, Miss Cynthia, and all those other creative centers are doing. And that's why, for me and my wife Jackie, we're always advocates for the arts, because we know that's the transformative space for our youth and for our communities, because we can speak through our arts. It's the new narrative that's being created. So as you've been doing your work as a director on various different platforms, and I'm sure you could brag about yourself up and down, where do you see the next iteration of creative space coming for our Black and brown boys and girls?
That's such a great question. That's a fantastic question. I gotta say I know and I don't know.
Okay.
And so I personally think, when people always ask me, like, cause I get asked to teach in the university system all the time, and I don't particularly want to. Like, I love teaching middle school, love it. And I think that age group, you really have to have a calling on your heart to want to work with that age group. And I think I do. So, and I say to them all the time, new things don't come from anybody our age, ever. New culture comes from two groups, usually put together, but generally split, porn and young.
Wow.
That's who invented everything new. Now we curate it, sell it, package it. If we're doing what we should do, I think we identify the talent and let them know who they are, let them know they're good, create safe spaces for them to incubate what it is they're coming up with.
Right.
But they do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hip hop, jazz, rock and roll, funk, any artistic movement. The Wright brothers were 16.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like every time you get in an airplane and go somewhere, like, it's important that everybody understand that two 16-year-olds went in their parents' garage and did that, right? Like, nobody 50 did that. So, and then at Shipley, like, I watch the kids that do the rocket, like they do, like in one of the science, the physics classes, they do the rockets things, and Shipley's got some brilliant kids in it. And I watch some of them make these out of bottles, these rockets that use water propulsion, and the better of them, you see them. You see the joint go in the air and like leave the horizon, and then you go like, see, like that is going to end up what ends up getting us to Mars, right? But it happens right there. And I think the answer to your question is, I don't know the answer, but I know that the answer will only come from them.
Yeah, but I think, I like the way...
And they won't get it, though, if we aren't curating and educating.
So then it's like a threefold approach, because you mentioned the poor and the young, and then there's the, if you will, and I'll just put this out there, not in a bad way, the educated, such as yourself, the instructors, I suppose. And I like the way you picked on the poor, and not picked on, but said it was the poor and the young, because the poor has aspirations, and the young has the ideas. And you combine them together with the proper instruction.
You get hip hop.
Boom.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people feel like I was educated by the people who ran the Black Arts movement. So some of my teachers in college were like Amir Baraka, was one of my teachers. Ozzie, God bless the dead, was not only one of my teachers, but a friend, became a good friend. Queen Sonia, Douglas Turner Ward, Lloyd Richards, August Wilson. These were people when I was in college I got to work with. And people forget that when you look at hip hop, the difference between what's happening in culture now and what happened then is the elders were still dealing with them. So like when Kool Herc was coming up with that, the last poets and all them people were around him and were talking to him about music. What are you doing? What is that? That's interesting. Here are my records, blah, blah, blah. There was a transference of elder to young that has been, I think, deeply broken. And back to the original question you asked me, that for me as an artist, why I connect being an artist and a teacher. because it's like, I like to call it the Miles Davis rule, right? Like, every one of Miles Davis' bands, of every iteration of his career, the bands were all 19-year-olds.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Whole time.
Wow.
Like Herbie, when he played with him, Herbie Hancock, 18. Ron Carter was 19. Tony Williams was 19.
Wow.
A dude I played with as a kid that's now a star, Jody Francesco in Oregon.
Okay.
When Miles pulled him up from working with Mr. Hines at the Summer Music School when we were kids.
Over in Philly?
Yeah, on Queen Street. Joey was there, I was there, Christian was there. When Miles pulled them two up to play on a Mandala, the Mandala and the Tutu record, they were
young boys?
Well, Joey was 15.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a kid. He was a child.
Yeah.
And that's why he was Miles, which is what people miss. Is he would come up with the vision and put it on kids. And then they had let them do all that music that we ended up hearing, right? And then when they got their own voice, he fired them, leave the nest.
Because they were ready, right?
It was ready, and then Herbie Hancock went and became Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Christian McBride went and became Christian McBride, and Tony Williams, and like the list goes on, and John McLaughlin, and Mike Stern, and all of that. But when they were with him, they were kids. Kids, just with their driver's license for the first time in some cases. And that is where whatever is new comes from. But the relationship, which I think the prison district complex and the awful public school system has broken, and drugs and all of that in our community has broken a lot of the relationship between elder and youth. And once you break that relationship, then you see the art gets stupid.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
It doesn't have that guidance, and it's become too adversarial. You telling me what to do, and I'm not trying to tell you, I'm trying to refine you. So it becomes adversarial. But you seem to have brought it full circle at the Ideal Center. And
that's the kind of work that Cynthia and Dave have been doing the whole time, which is.
And yourself.
Well, yeah, no doubt. And but again, that's the kind of work I want to do, because I'm not an activism person. I'm an advocacy person, because activism can last like about 5 minutes. But advocacy is when you work with a community of people and individuals when the cameras aren't on all the time.
Right.
And there are people out there that do that, and the people that do that are who I want to work with. And Cynthia and Dave are 100% that. They've been doing that for 20 years. Like none of this is new for them. They just started to get some light, but they've been.
It's like that overnight success.
Yeah, but they've been doing it consistently the whole time.
People
Exactly.
just noticing it. But you say you're not an activist, right? But I think if I could use a word as we sum up this interview, you are an agitator.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And as you agitate the waters of this stale economy, as you agitate the waters of the ignorance of our educational system, you agitate the water of reconstructing what it means to help our returning citizens, you create a space for their voice and you create ideas for them. So you're perfect for the Ideal Center. Thank you, Ozzie Jones, for being in this interview.
Well said, sir.
Appreciate you. So as you can see, the creative work that's being done over at Camden, New Jersey, through the Ideal Center of Arts, is awesomely being supported by individuals that you've listened to and organizations that are taking part. So if you want to continue to do the work and help them out, go to the Ideal Center's website. The information will be printed below in the comments. And find out ways that you can also enhance the creativity and make an impact through the arts in your community as well. Because we only survive through the new narrative of the arts, and we can only thrive through individuals that you've just heard, supporting them in their great endeavors. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this special segment of Community Voice PHL Talk Show at the Ideal Center in Camden, New Jersey. Appreciate your time. This is Jeff Jones from Community Voice PHL Talk Show. Remember, if it's happening in your community, we need to hear your voice. Peace.